I, I learned a lot. I remember in particular one interview I did in Newark when the person I was talking to predicted there were going to be riots, because the needs of the people of the cities. You know, I'd never been to cities like Newark and Camden and where there's a great concentration of black and brown people, mostly black at that time, and. So it was sort of the next thing I really sort of got involved in was education, and but what I learned in the poverty program really influenced the work that I subsequently tried to do as a member of the New Jersey State Board of Education, which is you're appointed by the governor, and Governor Byrne appointed me, and that's where I got involved with sex education.
Interesting story. You were in Belvedere School or something. When I read in your book and online, they were asking a lot of girls were getting pregnant in the ninth grade or something, and you asked the question, so when should they be educated?
Exactly. Yeah. That was actually the commissioner of health, a woman by the name of Joanne Finley, who came. She had to report annually to the board. The board made policy for the public schools, and she was the one who said that she was very concerned about rising rates of adolescent pregnancy and sexually transmitted disease in the state. And what, if anything, was the board doing about it? And I asked a question. In retrospect, it wasn't, I don't know, it was a question. And it was, at what age do you think young people really need to know?
I think it's just getting to the point.
How their bodies work. And she answered me by the end of, I think she said 4th grade. But I was the only person around that table. There were 13 of us who asked a question that day. And the president of the board, a wonderful man by the name of Paul Ritchie, who came from Vineland, New Jersey, decided to appoint a subcommittee. And as he looked around the 13 people...
You opened up your mouth.
You know, he said, I'm going to ask Susie Wilson if she will chair that committee. That question and the subsequent work I did really did change my life again.
That was a tumult, though. This was in, what, the early 70s? Or something.
It's sort of late 70s.
Late 30s.
It's 78, 79 in there.
But you're entering the public sphere, and sex was still controversial, and and then it gets very political, and then you get the church and this and that. Yeah. Did you know what you were getting into? Or?
Absolutely not. Oh. So the next day, I'll tell you that, to cement that idea. My husband said to me, where are you going today? And I said, well, I'm going into the city because I want to go to the Life magazine morgue, which is where all the articles were preserved. And I said, I don't know anything about the subject of sex education, so I'm going back to the Life morgue, and I'm going to read about it.
What best practices, what's been done before, what didn't work. What
exactly. Well, what I learned that day, and I think I summarized it by saying, when I finished reading about it, and fortunately, there were only 2 very large boxes of clips from the magazine and other magazines that I had to read through. But I realized that I had grabbed, as I often say, a tiger by the tail. I had no idea until I began how quote, controversial this subject was, and the kind of feelings that it generated. But, what was to deter me? There really wasn't anything. My role as chair of that committee was to really examine the issue, was talk to experts, and to make recommendations.
So you said guidelines, and the school districts could take them or use them or not use them, unless something mandated.
We were pretty bold. We went beyond that. We had to land up there, making it more voluntary. We wanted to require that all districts in the state have what we called, because of how controversial this was, family life education courses. And I believe we said K-12 initially. I think I certainly was kind of, I don't know, maybe naive that we wouldn't be able to do this. It made perfect sense to me that, prevention is always better than, what you have to do after problems occur. So, and the people on my subcommittee, we all were in agreement that this was very necessary. Some districts had tried to do this before, but they always encountered a great deal of controversy at the school board level. There were always school board members and also people in the community that just didn't want young people to learn about human sexuality.